Hey everyone, welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. So you're with me, of course, your host, Simone Milasas, and I am still in Australia at the moment, and we are in the month of April, and Earth Day is the 22nd of April. But like I've said before, every day is Earth Day for me, and what if every day was Earth Day for you as well? This month, though, I have been exploring and doing some podcasts with a variety of people who my perception is being stewards of the land. And, as Shaun and Sam Sargent is who I do this podcast with. And as Shaun said, you know what if we could start educating and empowering so many of the kids in the world too to become stewards of the land? I think it's sort of imperative that that's what we choose now. So these are two good friends of mine that I have known for a really long time. Haven't seen them in a while, but I am going to see them soon. I'm going to take some pictures, etc., to show you their property. Shaun was born in England, and Sam grew up in suburbia Sydney, and now they are off grid, own a property. Well, as Shaun said, they don't own it. It's like they're stewards of the land there of 105 acres, and they've been doing a lot of regenerative farming and learning a lot. And one of my favorite things that they mention is you have to learn to laugh at the hiccups. You have to learn to laugh at the things that definitely do not work out the way you think that they should. So enjoy this podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to them, and please enjoy. My question to you is, what is your relationship with the earth? This is your earth. This is our earth. What is your relationship to it? And each and every single one of us has a different level of communion with the earth. So what is yours? So again, enjoy this podcast, and enjoy you, and enjoy the earth. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning into or watching the Choice, Change and Action podcast. My name is Simone Milasas, and I am your host. Your choice creates your future. Every choice you make, action you take, you create a change for you and the world. Please enjoy this podcast. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take me too seriously. Don't trust me. Trust you. You are the one that knows what will work for you. And have way too much fun enjoying your choices. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. And today I have Shaun and Sam Sargent. So welcome, Shaun and Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Shaun and Sam, God, how long have I known you guys for? A while. It's going to be
15 years?
15 years. Wow.
Well, for me,
yeah, especially you, Sam.
12.
Yeah. Known you for a while, but I have not seen you for some time now, and I'm actually going to come down and visit them. I'm going to come down and stay a night towards the end of the month. And I said, I bet you your address is 20 meters past the red letterbox, past the orange tree, into the thing, because of where you are living now. So tell us a little bit about where you're living right now.
We are halfway up a mountain just near the border ranges. In between Queensland and New South Wales. We're actually on the New South Wales side, but we're in the middle of the caldera, so the volcano, surrounded by 5 national parks. So we can't see any humans or any human noise or any human sights or any light pollution. It feels like Jurassic Park, honestly. But yes, our instructions are don't follow the GPS, but as soon as you see this sign, wear the left on the this around that corner, and you're following the yellow brick road up the hill.
Yeah, that's the key bit. Follow the yellow brick road up the hill.
I love it. It's like Costa Rica when they give an address. You're like, seriously, that's the address? And it's like, yeah, at the end of the street, after the milk bar or something. You're like, okay. Okay, so let's look at, because you've got 105 acres now, right?
Correct.
But I didn't know you're surrounded by 5 national parks. That's amazing. That makes it seem like you've actually owned the planet, like you've got the world, at your fingertips there. So let's go back to 2020 for a second, when everything, shit hit the fan and blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's probably the last time I actually like had a conversation with you guys, and you were going to go to Tasmania. You had found a beautiful plot of land in Tasmania as well. I mean, Tasmania is one of my favorite places in the world for nature. And I was telling someone the other day that they do quite often when they're testing air in places, they do it based on Tasmania. Like, and what is the, you know, the threshold of the fresh air in Tasmania compared to Delhi, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. And you can perceive that when you're there. It's amazing. But then, correct me if I'm wrong, and Tasmania came up with, you know, some silly ass rules as well of, you know, that you had to be vaccinated, etc. Just in time, I get, because you went, pulled the plug, and then landed where you are today. So what made you buy this land? Like, what was appealing about it?
I mean, I think that's a good sort of summary of what it was. In the end, I mean, we went to Tasmania for fresh air, freedom, off-grid living. And, you know, sometimes what you think you need versus what you actually want are very different. So we put an offer in for this land. It overlooked the sea, faced east. Everything worked really well. And then the universe just started saying, no, no, no. And we got a lot of big red flags. So we got out of it. But as seems to be the way with Sam and I, is we'd sold our previous house. And so we'd already got the completion date and move out date.
We'd even booked the truck to take all our belongings down to Tassie.
And it was literally a week before the truck came up from Tasmania to take all of our gear back down to Tasmania. We both said, no, it doesn't feel right. So Sam rang them up and said, we don't. And then it was like, oh, shit, what do we do? So we said, well, we can't buy back into where we sold because the prices have just gone even higher. And why would we buy somebody else's profit? So Sam said, oh, well, you know, let's have a look around the Murwillumbah area. And I said, oh, no, we don't want to do that because we've been around there and it's as pikey as hell. And so, okay, well, we'll go for a drive. And you'd seen a property.
Yeah, there was this beautiful property in a place called Zara, which is about a 45-minute drive from us. And it just, because what we were wanting, exactly that, we wanted space, we wanted lots of land, we didn't want to be bothered by anybody, we wanted to grow our own food. And it was this amazing property. And then I rang the real estate agent and I said, you know, well, what's their asking price? And she told me, and I just was like, okay, well, that's a little bit out of our price range and it's ridiculously overpriced for what it was.
And it got flooded.
Yeah, and exactly. Luckily, we didn't go for that because it was, you know, a few months later it got flooded. But then she's like, well, what are you actually after? And I said, look, we want complete privacy. We don't want to see anybody. We don't want to know anybody's anywhere near us. We want to be able to do what we want to do. I want to grow our own food. We want pristine soil. We want water security. We want, you know, X, Y, Z. She's like, well, I've got this property. It's not available right now, but the guy's wanting to sell. And I'm like, oh, can you send me some pictures? And she's like, well, no, because it's not quite ready. And I'm like, oh God, it's going to be a shit tip.
Bear in mind, we had seen some shit tips in the interim time of like, oh my God, are you seriously going to try and sell that?
So anyway, she's like, look, I will meet you at the general store and then you can follow me because you won't find it. And we rocked up and we're like, whoa, it's kind of everything we want, but nothing we want, because they hadn't done any gardening for 10 years. So you imagine in a rainforest, no gardening for 10 years, everything was overgrown, but the possibilities we saw were just extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with every house that we had. The last house was the same. We just drove in, saw it, fell in love with it, made an offer for it, had it accepted in half an hour. And we met the guy here and he's like showing us around, and we went up in his little buggy to the top of the property, and it's like, okay. And he said his price and we said our price, and somehow he came in at our price, not his price. And we said, throw your tractor in as well. And he threw his tractor in as well. And it's like, yeah. So we were literally done within 10 minutes of seeing the property. And then
I love that, Shaun, because that just told me, like, that's such a Shaun deal. I could see you at the top of the property, just like not only like asking the land to contribute, but going, I mean, your background is accountancy, right? Like from many, many years ago. And you know what? I think I've always valued the way you look at business and the way you do things like that too. So I could see you going, like most people go, oh, do you reckon we could ask for that? You'd be like, what about the tractor? throw that one in too. Like, as Shaun deal.
And the
So you
mower.
got
Yeah,
We
and
also
the
got
mower.
the mower
Yeah, and the
here.
mower. Sorry, I forgot that. Yeah,
the
but,
mower
I mean,
that really
basically,
hadn't been used.
yeah. And so, I mean, it's great to actually know that the universe has got your back, and I think that's very clear for us. Is we are where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there, and people say, "Oh, that's a bit, a bit sort of woo-woo and so on." I mean, you wouldn't, and
Nope.
Harry and Dane wouldn't. It's like, no, that's exactly it. So we came here, and then we had a friend round who deals with earth energy, and he's like, oh yeah, got his rods out, and he said, oh, there's some major grid lines, because we look onto Mount Warning, which is one of Australia's most sacred mountains, but behind us we have the Sphinx, which we personally believe is actually more powerful. The elders did some funny things. They use sleight of hand and deception. So they tell you that something's sacred, but actually the sacred is waiting for you to discover it. So the guy who came up was an old farmer guy, got his rods out. So he then said, oh, this is the central point, which just happened to be near the house. We planted a big rose quartz crystal and a biodynamic broadcaster to put energy into the caldera. We set up our organites and our chemtrail busters and just did all the crazy shit that we do. And it's like, yep, we're exactly where. And then was it a month after we moved in, we had the most horrendous floods, the 2022 floods. We were fortunately or unfortunately, everything happens for a reason. And we can look back at it now and say, for the first 3 weeks we were here, we were out of our depth, completely out of our depth. It's like, what the have we done?
Where have we moved?
So we went back to Sydney to see Sam's parents, and we had a week there, and all we could see on the news was Northern Rivers getting smashed by once in a lifetime flood. So we came up, and the flight from Sydney to Ballina was cancelled, so we drove. Yeah. And we got to Ballina, left the hire car.
Yeah, we're like, oh, and we're like, gosh, it's pretty wet. Yeah, it's really wet.
It's a bit wet.
And they were like, stopped up at a servo, and some guy's like, oh, I just lost my lorry because of the floods. And we're like, you lost your lorry? Whoa, there's a lot of water. We're like, shit, we've got to get home. We've got to get home. We've got to get our car from the Ballina airport.
Unfortunately, we were just in time, because where our car was parked, the car axles were up to water. Yeah. So had we not gone, we'd have lost the cars. We tried to drive back, and again, the universe having our back. We got on the back roads, and there's trees down and bridges underwater, and we eventually got to one crossing, and I said to Sam, we can't get across this, and we're in the middle of nowhere.
So we're like, well, we'll just sleep in the car, that's it. There's a sawmill. Let's not be under a tree in case a tree comes down. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've got a wee, And then,
important things.
And then this guy comes out with a torch on his head, and he's like, typical Aussie country guy, like just solid gold, heart of gold. And he's like, knocks on the window. He's like, you guys all right? And we're like, yeah, we're fine. Yeah, we're gonna. He goes, what are you gonna do? And he goes, we're gonna sleep in the car. And he's like, no. He goes, come to my house. He goes, I'm just here. Come and stay with me. He goes, worst case scenario, I've got a shed. I'll flip out a mat. You can sleep, undercover. And Shaun's like, very gentleman. No, we're right, mate. I'm like, yes, please. I need to wee.
Have you got a
bathroom? So he took us in. He was a great guy. He's a good mate now. And so again, the universe having our back, telling us we're in the right place. We couldn't get home for a week. And when because all of the road from UK to our turn was blocked. I think there were about 8 landslides, weren't there?
Yeah, there were 8 landslides, but not just landslides. There were landslides like, I think
hills.
Probably, like a whole hill had come down, and there was like 20 foot of trees and rock. It was horrendous.
But the good news is the council didn't come and help anybody, but all of the locals around here just get their chainsaws out and the tractors and sort it out. So when we got back here, we got landslips on our property. All of the food had gone off because there was no power. And so it was a really good kick in the backside of saying, like, if you want to live here, you better sort yourselves out. So we said, okay. Then we started strengthening the banks with grasses and trees. We've then put our own solar generator so we're completely off grid. We catch our own water. So it's like, okay, if the end of the world happens now, we'll die happy.
and I'm going to know where you are in a couple of weeks, so we can go there. And I'm getting my gun license this week. I just did my gun safety course, so all goes to shit. I'll be down there. I will protect us.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of working on that basis too. We keep talking about it because we have wild dogs here and all sorts of stuff. Touch wood. It's a good neighborhood. Everybody looks after themselves in the area.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'd not been around for a week, had we? Just because we hadn't gone down. The nearest town is 20 k's away, and then there was the local fire guy doing some work at our place, and he said, "Oh, the police asked me if I knew you yesterday." And oh shit! He said, "Yeah, because the people in the post office hadn't seen you, and they just wanted to know you were okay, so they were asking around if you guys were okay." So I think that's really sweet, not intrusive, but actually.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like, nobody moves out here to be social and like to pop around for a cup of tea. You know what I mean? But it's like if stuff happens, someone's always there. When we first got people getting bogged in our property and stuff, so we just called the neighbor, and he was all kitted up and tooled up, and he's like, "Yeah, no worries, I'm come and help you out," and just really lovely bunch of people. But it really was a kick in the face for us. Like, if you're going to live out here, you got to get skilled and tooled and get the right equipment.
So we've got. This is what you love. We've got 4 wine fridges chock full. We've got 2 freezers chock full.
That's the first thing you did.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
Yep. I got. You know what? Funny enough, my downstairs there was a tradesman here the other day, and he went, "Oh, this is where the honey pot is, isn't it?" I bought so much liquor when everyone was like champagne stopping like during COVID and that, and I was like, "Well, I'm buying cases then." I literally have so much alcohol at my house. It's like I couldn't, it's taken me ages to drink it. It's like, so yeah, I'm good with that too.
Yeah. It's so, it was good for us. And now, 2 years in, I got the mower stuck on the weekend because trying to get it done. And I just get on the walkie-talkie with Sam and say, "Oh, I'm in X and X paddock, bring the truck down with the rope." And she comes down in the gum boots and the, Daisy Duke shorts and puts the lasso around the mower and pulls me out like second nature. And it's amazing what you can do when you have to. I mean, we know by no means country people are experts, but it's like when you've got to do it, you've got to do it, and there isn't a choice. And I think that's great. That's been a good one for our sort of learning and development.
I'm not so sure. Expert is a really interesting word too, because for me, it's like an expert is someone who does do that thing of like stumbling and falling and going, "Holy shit, what do we do here?" And then you pick yourself up and you go, "Okay, we're going to have to look at something in a different way." And you keep choosing. Because I know for myself, it's like everything that I've done that has, I'm going to say, gone to shit, or I've lost money, or didn't show up the way, even close to what I thought it was. They're the places that I gained the most awareness. And I chose more rather than going, "No, Dios mío, I can't do this." It's like, no, I chose more. And I think there's a huge joy in that. Hey, I got a few things I want to ask you about. First thing that really pinged for me, especially because I just went to Egypt in January, and you are so correct. It's like with the elders, and Aboriginal history here, I think, is amazing too. I know I studied a bit of it at school, and I always find it so intriguing. But the way you said that sleight of hand thing, and because I know in Egypt, it's, the Great Pyramids there. And it's like, I went there and I looked at the guy. We did a private tour, which was phenomenal. And we did this private tour. We went to the place in the pyramid that, everyone can go. And they're going, "This is where the king's burial." And I looked at him and I was like, "That's not the king. Like, the king wasn't buried there." And he goes, "I know." And I went, "What do you think this is?" And he said, "This whole pyramid here, there was no burial ground here. It was in order to disguise what was really going on." We did go to one place in there that you weren't supposed to go to. You had to get special government, permission and all this sort of stuff. And my friend David that I was with, he went, "Would you have the key to get in there?" And the guy went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, let's go." The guy was like, "I'm not coming down with you." And it was this huge, big, like 800, it was 800 meters down, I think it was. And it was into what they called the afterlife. And it was incredible. The energy there was so amazing. The one of the things that I feel like I will take away with that forever is, oh, you know what? Death isn't so bad. it's like anywhere that I had this fear of death, it was like there was such a sense of peace. And that's where they used to go and, do rituals, etc., for the afterlife and that. And it was incredible. But when you said you have I know Mount Warning, and then you had a Sphinx. What is the Sphinx? I've never heard of that.
So Mount Burrell, where we live, there's a bit of rock which people say looks like a Sphinx. Like you got the dingo ears, which looks like dingo ears. You got the rock, and they even say that Mount Warning looks like a bush turkey. I mean,
need to have a few drugs.
Yeah, it depends which angle you're looking at it.
You got to hit that wine cellar up.
Yeah. So it's just a landmark, really.
But then we have the pinnacle too.
Yeah.
And what's interesting with that, from our balcony on Warning, you see a Ganesh. So there's a huge Ganesh which nobody had ever seen, and we're saying, look, it's there, and they're going, oh yeah,
giant elephant.
And then you look at to the left, and there's the pinnacle, which is this rock. And but when you look at that, that's like a Moya from Easter Island. And they went, oh yeah, it's like a huge sleeping giant in the landscape.
Yeah, and interestingly, when we were in Easter Island a few years ago, there were a lot of the Moyas that were looking directly towards this direction. And it's like, that's weird.
Yeah, and well, they actually said, didn't they? There's most of the Moya look in as internal protection, and 7 Moya look out, and they look at directly to Byron Bay, and it's like, okay,
very strange.
So it's just a very interesting energy, and I mean, even from let's forget all of that thing for let's say the normies, the fact that it's some of the oldest volcanic land in Australia. And I was having this discussion with Sam's about Sam's parents, because they're somewhere else in Australia, saying, oh, this is the earliest land, and you talk to people in Africa and they say, oh, this is the earliest land, and you go, well, if you think about it logically, New Zealand is the newest land, so the east coast of Australia must be the oldest land, and we're on the east coast of Australia, so everything west of us must be younger than where we are. So we're technically on the oldest land in the world. And Warning is like first light. So it is the first place that the sun hits on New Year's Day in Australia. So, however you want to see it, but actually for us, the key is the soil is unadulterated. They've been lazy farmers around here. So no fertilizers, no pesticides, just a few cows grazing.
The only thing that really happened was they logged this area quite severely, and which I'm learning it. They shipped it all back to England to build Canary Wharf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. There you go. And just to comment on the with the land, because also, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been to Uluru. Have you been to Uluru?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's incredible, that place. And they say, like, the whole, and if you're listening to this and you're like, what's Uluru? It's a huge, big, massive rock in the middle of Australia. A lot of tourists would know it as Ayers Rock, but the name is Uluru. And they say, as you walk around, it's a 10.5 kilometer walk around it. It's they say one half of it, end, is 650 million years old, and the other half is 550 million. I'm like, oh, just that little bit of difference, but how it came up from the earth. But they say that's also the source of creation, and it's incredible. The energy when you're there is off the charts. Like it's one of my favorite places in the world. But I do love a desert myself. So so you mentioning that too, Sam. So you guys are off the grid now, but have you gone into the regenerative farming? Is that what you're?
Yeah. Fortunately, there was a really lovely guy from our old property, which was just across the hills. And when we moved in, we're like, wow, we've got to give James a call. He is amazing at agroforestry. And so there's a lot of lantana that is grown here because of when they logged. The lantana's taken over. And so we've just been tackling a little bit.
Yeah. And if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you're not from Australia, lantana is looked at as a weed. And when it grows, man, does it grow, and it's like thick and heavy and really quite.
You know what we've learned, Simone? Do you know the funny thing is, it's like, it was interesting because we just talked about it this morning, because we go through our property 3 times a day to walk the dogs, and lantana is actually really quite beneficial. It adds a lot of nitrogen to the soil, and it provides an area for a lot of wildlife to live safely and not get eaten by predators. So yeah, so there are actually a lot of worse things in our area than lantana. So yes, we've been wanting to get it removed so that we can bring back the biodiversity that was taken away when they logged here. But so we've created just these massive food forests, and so we've kind of designated areas human food areas, and then animal areas and stuff. And then there's, you know, the erosion prevention. And so this guy James, who works for us, helps us out on the property. His knowledge is just extraordinary. And what we've seen happen in a year and a half or 2 years of being here, one, the amount of food that we can produce is extraordinary. Two, the biodiversity of just the animals that are coming, you know, the butterflies and the bees and the birds. And, you know, we get eagles and peregrines and, you know, different owls and all the different rainbow birds. And I mean, ones I don't know.
Bees.
Yeah, native Australian bees, which look like flies, which I never knew about. And then the other bees that look like bees.
English bees, they're called.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've done a huge amount of. It started. It was twofold. One, because we wanted to be self-sufficient in our food. If things went pear-shaped in a big way in the world, it's like, well, we don't want to have to worry about that. And also, we like growing our own food.
Yeah.
And then two, the other one was through necessity. After the floods, it was like, okay, we need to really future-proof this property so that there's no more landslides, and also bring back that biodiversity, because it's been so badly raped in the past with the logging. That's unsettled the banks and the these trees, which I think they're silly trees because they only last for about 5 or 10 years. They just fall over and die and block the driveway. So we're replacing them. They do add, you know, nutrients back to the. There's everything. Obviously, everything's got a purpose in nature. But we've been putting with James. I think he's put 50 different species of trees along our driveway, because our driveway is about 1 kilometre. It was exactly 1 kilometre long. So we wanted to line it with really beautiful, bright things for the birds, things for the native animals.
The native. Oh, I love my native trees in my yard and the birds that come. And I recently just put like little bird feeders and a bird bath there, and it's very cool. So I want to know more about your food forest that you've got. What have you got in your food forests?
Well, I mean, he started with a little one, which
like a circular
is now not little. He did it in the sort of geodesic aspect. And so we've got cassava in there, which is a fantastic root. And Sam makes beautiful rosti because, you know, we love rosti. So she grinds up the cassava root and then fries it. And the good thing is it's very low glycemic index, so there's no blood sugar issues. But also the islanders eat it for their manhood. So you can imagine me, I'm growing as much of this shit as I can. Rosti 4 times a day.
Jen's grinding it away.
Exactly.
Perfect relationship.
Yeah. Then we've got bananas, fruits.
Oh, we've got avocado, we've got acerola cherries, we've got pineapples, we've got lemongrass, we've got apples and aronias. We've got 65. We did a blueberry avenue along one of the stretches with 65 blueberry bushes.
Wow.
They're really young at the moment. We've got raspberries, mulberries, guava, obviously the lemons, the limes.
Some native Australian bush.
Yeah, things like the mangosteens. What else? There's so much.
Palms.
So do you look after this, or do you have someone else looking after it?
We do a bit. I mean, James is like the
guy,
the architect of it.
Yeah,
he guides us, he teaches us,
he gives us homework.
Yeah. That's great. And you know, we do the humping and lumping. You know, we'll cut the weeds or pull the trees down or chop the trees up. But he's like, we tell him what we want. So last year we said to him, we want garlic. So he created a specific bed for garlic, and we've been eating fresh garlic.
Well, yeah, it gives us a year's supply of garlic. And then we had which is really sad. We've just come to the end of our onions. So what's that? 4 months of onions, which we got, which is like, oh no, you know.
Beetroot. We do beetroot.
Yeah, and so I learned we pickled everything. So we've been pickling the radishes and pickling the cucumbers and pickling the beetroot and pickling. So we've got a whole paddock of turmeric as well. The previous guy farmed turmeric, so we learned how to keep that in a jar with just honey. Like honey is such a great preserver. So
Do you
chop
have
it up.
bees? Besides just bees flying around, do you actually have?
Yeah, one of our mate Shaun's mates, he gave us a hive.
Yeah, that's a funny thing, is that you come to stay with somebody and say, "Oh, I bought you a present." You think, "Oh, a bottle of wine, bottle of champagne." Oh no, it's a hive of bees. Fantastic! How cool is that?
Yeah, that's great. And I just want to mention, it's like, I mean, you guys are on 105 acres, so that's a big plot of land. And so anyone listening here too that's going, well, that's easy for them. Not easy. Let's say it's not easy. They've put the hard work in to actually create this. You can create it anywhere. And next week, this whole month on my podcast, I've had a couple of people on here. The last week I had Saul Wynne Jones. Do you know Saul? Have you ever met Saul? Oh, Saul and Tiffany. Yeah. Man, he's so sweet. It's like this rainforest that he's just like done assistive regenerative of this rainforest. And the one thing he said, which just pinged me so much, was he said, all the work I'm doing won't be acknowledged, like it won't be seen for at least 300 years. And he went, and I'm okay with that. And I was like, gosh, if we all made these choices, that is so further beyond our lifetime and what we can be as stewards of the land, then what would we choose?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Next week, following you guys, I have my gardeners, which are amazing. And they've done one property I have at Mauritius, it's 5 acres, and they've done a whole food forest there, which has just grown so much. But I'm now doing that in my front yard in Peregian Beach. So, and they've even built me like a little place that I can have different herbs and everything on there as well. So on wheels, so I can wheel it around according to where the sun hits there. So, and even if you have an apartment and you have a kitchen windowsill, you can start to have something that I find it quite thrilling to grow stuff. And I'm definitely like, I'm the furthest thing from an expert. All I've done is literally walk around and I talk to my plants all the time too. I'm like, okay, what do you need? What do you need? You know, and then I discovered this way the other day to create nitrogen for the plants of putting like a black tea bag, the leaves of the tea bag and a couple of spoonfuls of oats and then hot water, and leave that for at least an hour. I usually leave it overnight and then, you know, filter it out. And this is this beautiful nitrogen water that you can, you know, just put a little bit on your plants. And I walked around the other day going, do you guys want this? And I swear to God, every plant in my house went, me please, me please, me please. And I was like, okay, you know, asking each one. And it's just, I don't know, it gives me, it creates such a contribution for me in my whole life with everything that I'm choosing when you engage with the earth, is how I would put this. You know, it's just, it's sort of undescribable of the energy. And I'm so excited about coming down and seeing your place too, and actually everything you've been talking about and getting the energy of it as well, and receiving the energy of it, even though you guys do a really good job of describing that to me now, so I can receive the energy and the views and all of that too. It's so I really invite you all, if you're listening to this, that this is not about being born an expert. It's not about, you know, in your family that you've got, you know, it's all green thumbs, etc. It's like, it's not that. I mean, Sam, you know, you grew up in Sydney. It's like, Shaun, you grew up in England and you studied accountancy. Sam, I know you've been involved in many different things, including natural therapy. So, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
But here you are now, and it's like it's not too late to choose anything. And for me, it's like, what communion can we be with the earth today? What can we contribute to the earth today? And what can we receive from the earth today? Because the earth really likes it when you receive from her as well. It's like, yeah, when you get it, and she's like, oh, yeah, that's it. It's like this heartbeat that we can be together beyond all the bullshit that's happening in the world. It's like, this is us, you know, this is us. This is our earth. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you guys choosing this and having that, you know, stumbling and falling moments and going, oh, okay, universe, we get it. That kick up the butt. We've got to, you know, look at what else we're choosing. So
I think what you said about soul is really pertinent, Simone, is like, we look at this and, yes, the food trees are coming up. Yes, we're growing our own food, but the trees that we're actually putting in, we won't see the benefit of it directly. But it is that knowledge that you're doing something positive for the environment. And it really is gratifying when you, like, we go for a drive around the paddock at night to look at the trees, and like, what a crazy ass bunch of people. Or we go up the creek and look at, what the creek's doing, and it's exactly that. And the other word of stewardship. People say, oh, you're so lucky to own it. So we don't own this. We don't own this. This is us for now, and we're happy to leave it in a better state than when we found it. And we've done that in all, the last property in Goonagary too. It's like, it's our contribution too. It's to pay it forward, because then you just trust in that process that you're doing the right thing, whatever the right thing is, and the universe will have you back. And that's how we try and live.
I think
I love that. Yeah,
it's exactly what you're saying too, Simone. Like, about this expert thing, it's like, it's so true what you say. I'm so 180 degrees from a farmer. As you say, I grew up in the suburbs in Sydney, and I've got no idea. So when I grow, like if a tomato grows or I grow something, I think I've literally split the atom. I'm like, oh my God, I am amazing. And it gives you that buzz, and then it just inspires you to want to do more. And it's like, the amount of peace that we get from just sitting outside on a balcony, just breathing in fresh air and going, gosh, that tree looks amazing tonight. The way the light's hitting it, or when we get up in the morning at 6:30 and the light's shining through from the top down, through the trees, it's like, oh my goodness gracious me. Like, far out. That's extraordinary.
But everybody can do it, and I think what you said there is really key, because you see people saying, oh, you're so lucky. Well, no, I'm grateful. We're so grateful, but there's no luck in it. We created it. But it's like, well, why do you spend all of your time mowing your lawn when you could plant food? And there's so many things. Like, Sam is a master now at making kimchi and pickling and preserving. And our shopping bills have gone through the floor. And as you say, you've got your 5 acres, but then you've got your bed in your beach place. Everybody can do it. It's just a choice. But if you do it, then you will reap the benefits of it, because the energy of plants that you grow, the biosignature for your own body, is significantly more than anything that is dead that comes out of a supermarket. So it's like, it's A, rewarding, and B, rewarding, and C, rewarding, because you save money, accountant, you get the benefit, health. And like, I think we should teach kids this in the beginning. Teach them to garden, teach them to look after the land, because forget about maths and trigonometry and chemistry. I mean, they're all things to do if that's what you like, but teach them about the land, teach them to become self-sufficient, because that's going to be the best lesson you can ever give them.
I totally agree. And I remember Jamie Oliver did a series years ago, and he went to America, and he was talking to these kids in the school, and they had no idea, like, about a potato, about a tomato, or anything. And he was like, wow. And all the fast food and everything that they were eating. So he came in and he taught them about, well, where does even your French fry come from? And they had no idea. It was like the frozen packet. And he was like, no, it comes from a potato. And he started educating them on this. And immediately, I'm going to say, I went to judgment. And what I'm going to invite everyone here to now is, wherever you've had and wherever you've grown up, what if it wasn't about judging each other? What if it was about empowering each other and educating each other? And like you said, just starting, it's like, if Sam's become a master at kimchi and doing all of this, I had to show the idiocy that I've been as well. I had this basil plant on my kitchen bench, and it really wasn't doing very well. And I was like, I kept talking to it, going, okay, what do you need? Like, da-da-da. And then I went, you know what? And I was talking to my friend who's Italian, who used to work in a basilica farm many years ago. And I went, can I just cut some off and put it in a glass? And will it do that root thing of growing the roots in the glass, And he was like, well, I've never done that. And he goes, but maybe we could try it. So I did. And I just cut some off, because I was like, it's not happening. Put it in this jar. And then a week later, it's like, boop, it's got all these sprouts. And I went, all right, now I get it's time to actually plant it. And it was just being in question. Like I wasn't vested in the outcome of this basil is actually going to be there. But the joy of playing with this plant and talking to it, because every plant talks to you. The earth talks to you all the time. It's like, are you hearing it? And so even just playing with this basil, I mean, it's got like 4 leaves on it. It's like, come over for a salad and I'll be like, boop, boop. Just a little appetizer or something. But the joy of it is, find the joy in everything that you're using with this. And I totally agree. It's like educating people, educating kids on being stewards of the land. It's sort of imperative nowadays that we do this. So is there anything that you would like to suggest that people can actually start from as well, or even look into some of the stuff that you've been choosing?
I think just be curious. Like I remember when we first got together and we're in England, like we just got a pot and we just grew some tomatoes and basil together. And then, Shaun talks about the kimchi thing. All I did was go onto YouTube and look for Korean kimchi. And there's this amazing Korean woman teaching me how to make kimchi. And it's like, it's super easy. There's amazing people out there. Just be curious and take action.
I think also in that is the question too, don't expect we don't grow everything we eat. So, we have to go and support the local farmers, but be in question about what you're actually buying, because not everything is as it seems to be. Are they conventional? Are they biodynamic, organic? How do they treat? There's a guy around our way who has got the Wagyu of lamb, and this lamb is just absolutely amazing. But he goes to the beach to get seaweed to feed them, and it's just so. Yes, we get a lamb from him. Whereas if you go to the butchers, there are some butchers who are really good, and then there are some butchers who just get away with what they can. And lamb isn't lamb, steak isn't steak. Wagyu. So know where your food comes from and support the people who are doing the right thing, because there's a lot of skullduggery in this world where you think you're eating healthy and you're not. And I think that for me is a real sadness, that people want to be healthy and that they get betrayed or lied to. So find out who grows your food and support them best you can. And I mean, it's nice to see farmers markets in Sydney now and places like that. There's no excuse. Know where your food comes from, grow as much as you can, start small, laugh at the mistakes, and enjoy it, I think is really the key, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that you said that too. I have a lamb guy too, and he's at Noosa Farmers Market, and he's a butcher himself, and he only does like lamb and at the markets. That's all he does. And it's like, and he plays jazz music there, and you go there every week and you see him and you buy the lamb and the lamb tastes great. He's happy, I'm happy. And it's like that energy of like contributing to each other is amazing. There's another company there that I buy broth, and they make this amazing, beautiful beef, chicken, vegetable broth, etc. And I know the hours that they go into making that is phenomenal. But that's what I make, as I use that as my base for my soups, etc. So I love that. My eggs, nothing beats eggs fresh from a chook's bum. Like that's just incredible. And I remember when I was in Egypt earlier this year in January, as I said, and I was eating breakfast and I went, I can't eat these eggs. They just didn't, like, I was like, they're eggs. They're not cooked bad, but man, they're just, wherever they're from, my body was like, And it was like, okay. And also that it's like being questioned with your body. Because as I travel, there is a lot of countries that I go to, and I don't go, I am now vegetarian, but my body goes, we're not eating meat here. And I go, okay, and then it's like, and I eat what my body is actually showing me as well. And then you go to somewhere like Italy and it's like, wine and bread and pasta. And it's like, but the freshness that they cook from is so present and so there. A pizza from Italy compared to a pizza from Australia is entirely different. So ask your body too. Yeah.
It's interesting, like everything that you're touching on, because it's like I've been really curious to learn about food and more the reality of what we're actually purchasing. And there's something that they put in the grain in the wheat for making the doughs, the pizza doughs, everywhere else in the world except for in Europe and especially in Italy. And it's like, that's why it's so easy to just wolf down a pizza and not feel bloated and feel like crap. It's because it's actually grown differently, it's treated differently. And the meat, like where we get our meat from, direct from a farmer, I'm learning so much about meat that you would get from a supermarket or even a butcher. And it's like, there's no way I want to eat that stuff. I want yours, mate, because it's like, it's grass-fed, grass-finished, no hormones, no injections.
But that's an interesting point, Simone. Let me ask you that question, because we have the same challenge when we travel. I've just come back from Zurich, Munich, and the UK. So I live here, walk around bare feet, eat really good food. Our water's from the sky, filtered, mineralized, bathed in. And, you know, I love Zurich, and Munich's like second home to me. But the food is like such a nightmare, because, you're in a 4-star restaurant or, you know, a really good, and it's like, oh, okay, alcohol, because the food, the body goes, why are you putting this shit into me when I normally eat good stuff? And it's not to judge it, but how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I've learned, like, there's many different places that I go on a regular basis because I do travel a lot. And at the moment I'm looking at traveling probably 6.5 to 7 months of the year. And there's certain places I go. But Sam, as you said about the food, like when I buy bread here in Australia, I buy gluten-free. I do gluten-free here. When I go to Italy, I don't. I'll eat whatever bread's there and it's just yummy and I'm not bloated. I'm not all this. So I start to notice that. The first thing I do, like, it becomes this big joke. Anyone hosting me for a class anywhere, the 2 things that I always want is a yoga mat so I can, work out and stuff in the morning, and a yoga mat and water. What's the water? And I literally have a list of good water because I'm such a water snob. And there's not just any water I can drink. It's like I require good, good water. So that's one thing that I look for first off. And then, I don't know, I will look around the area. And it's interesting you asked the question, Shaun, too, because it's not even cognitive a lot of the time. You sort of walk the streets and you'll find somewhere. And if I find a good place that's got, good food, like, you can tell when your body's eating it that you're going, oh yeah, this is good. The way the chef is, even the way they're cooking it, are they grateful? Like, and yeah, that might sound woo-woo, but it's not. It's like, is someone grateful that they're preparing your food and doing all of that? There's such a difference in the energy of it. So I will find places in different restaurants, and I will definitely look for, if they have a farmer's market, I'm there. I'm there for sure. And it's like nothing like buying fresh strawberries or fresh raspberries, or like in Italy where we go near the castle. I've never tasted hazelnuts like that in my life, but that's the Nutella area. Like, that's the hazelnut area. And you eat those hazelnuts and you're like, oh, they're so divine. They're nothing like you would get here. So it's making me so excited about good food.
Well, I think it's the thing, if anyone's doubting this, make a meal when you're in a really bad mood and then do the same meal again when you're in an ecstatic mood, dancing around the kitchen. Guarantee you it tastes different. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to coming down and seeing you guys. And I just thank you so much. I know we're going to have lots to talk about again when we're there and seeing your land and being there. And I will take some photos and videos, and especially of your dogs, and I will have them on my Instagram as well. So you'll get to see all of that. And yeah, so thank you so much, guys, for being on here today. And anything else you want to mention or say that we haven't?
I think you get out of it what you put in, and that's the reality. So, everything that we've talked about is just make a start and laugh at the mess ups, because that's the easiest way to grow, is to laugh. I mean, the amount of times, when I nearly tipped the buggy over and died and Sam rescued me, and, we're laughing and all of these things, what do you want to do? Get angry? Do you want to judge yourself? Do you want to get pissed off? Do you want to hide? Or no, let's laugh. And I think that making fun of yourself in a good way, and that laughter really brings. So when you're growing your food, as you say, the plants respond to you. So talk to them, sing to them, dance with them, whatever, and have some fun with it and go, just give it a go.
Yeah. Give it a go. I love that. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Don't hang up, though. But I'm going to hang up this, and I will see you all next time. And please check out all the podcasts I've had in the month of April. I know the 22nd is Earth Day. For me, every day is Earth Day, and yet this month I really did some podcasts that for me was about acknowledging the earth and what we can be with the earth. So thank you so much, Shaun and Sam, for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, did you like this podcast? Love it? Hate it? Inspired by it? Can you do me a favor? Can you please write a comment, share it, like it? If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, could you tick a few stars for us? Leave a review. It's all such a contribution, and I am immensely grateful. Follow us on Instagram at Choice, Change and Action, and drop into our DMs and let us know what you would like next. When you subscribe to the show notes, you will receive a brief summary and any questions or tools we used and links to anything we discussed during the show. It might make your life easier. What if we asked for that? A life of ease, joy, and glory.